guys, we're back. It's another episode of the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. And today's guest is, you're out of DFW, right?
Yeah, Fort Worth, yes.
Yeah, awesome. So, I'd like to welcome you guys, Dustin. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, super excited to be on. And I guess just to jump right in, a little bit about myself. I'm from Fort Worth. Grew up here, went to UT Austin for school, looking horns.
Yeah.
And it's been good times. I grew up here, and I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. Always, kind of had some sort of side hustle. When I was a little kid, I had a candy business. When I was, I had a lawn mowing business. I did carnival. I sold baseball cards. You name it, I was probably doing it.
Right.
In college, I started an internet business. I didn't know anything about Pokemon, but my dad had a baseball card shop and he sold Pokemon cards. And I was like, hey, let me set you up a website. And because I'm 40 and this was in the late 90s, not everybody had a website at the time.
Right.
And so I was like, hey, I'll set you up a website and we can sell online. He's like, oh, no, I won't make any money that way, whatever. And so I set up a website and was selling all around the world, and while in college. So that was interesting to get phone calls from clients.
Well, I mean, that's how Gary Vee and Mark Cuban, they both started with online. They're both innovators in their space, so could have been turned into a epidemic Pokemon online deal.
It was definitely interesting. I'd have friends come over and like, hey man, you got a lot of Pokemon cards. What's going on over here? And I had a corner of my bedroom was just all Pokemon cards.
Really?
So it looked a little odd, but anyways, got out of college and then started doing rentals and flips. Started doing that 10, 12 years ago, and then kind of always had my eye on going bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And found someone that was teaching people how to do apartments. So joined that group and just kind of got into our first deal passively in multifamily about 7 years ago. Fortunately, just the timing of the market and all that kind of coming out of the recession worked out pretty well. And I didn't know better. Otherwise, I would have bought a lot more. But
right.
Anyways, been good, and we're right in around 1,500 doors. I just sold a deal actually yesterday. So
really, well, congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, super excited for our investors. So
yeah, that's awesome. So on that one, you said for our investors, so you're the lead on that one?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It was a deal in Waco, Fleetwood Square, 120 units, syndicated the deal. There's around 30 investors or so. The average, investment was probably about 50K, 50, 60K.
Yeah.
And we owned it for 2 years and had, really good returns. Cap rate compression helps, a lot with that. We did increase, I'll have to go back and look, we did increase the NOI by quite a bit too. So it was a nice deal. So
that's awesome.
There were plenty of struggles, but yes.
Yeah. Well, let's break down that one in a little bit, but let's rewind. You said you've been in real estate 10 to 12 years, where you started buying rentals and flips then?
Yes.
What made you choose leaving college to go? Was there a gap between college and real estate, or you just jumped straight into real estate?
So I guess I want to back up a little bit. So I went to school for engineering and I've been an engineer since then. And so I've been, that's kind of been my full-time gig.
Right.
I went part-time last March, and so I'm still part-time right now. I work 2 days a week as an engineer right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the time I'm doing real estate. But about 10, 12 years ago that's when we started to invest in single family and did, probably half a dozen rentals and flips. And, it was kind of like, hey, this is, honestly, you're probably a lot better at it than I am. But you know, it was a lot of work, and you know, I always kind of had an eye for, you know, kind of scaling, and you know, I was having a difficult time scaling.
Yeah.
Rentals.
Right. So, well, first off, what kind of engineer are you?
I went to school for mechanical, but I do more materials. So I work, basically my job is to help lower the cost of the airplane. And so, you know, it's actually not too different from what I do now, you know, trying to analyze where I can lower cost for an apartment complex or increase you know, increase the income. So it's really not, you know, all that different. So,
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
awesome. I have a good buddy of mine back in northern Arizona who's an engineer. So he travels the world building zip lines for different companies. And
Wow. That's cool.
yeah,
Huh.
so he's got a badass job, and
Wow.
he's tiptoeing into the real estate world and has got a couple. I think he has a duplex and a triplex or something. But it's always cool to me how people have found, because I see a lot of, or hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, why do you work for a man? You know, stop working for somebody else. You're making somebody else rich." But you know, there's jobs like yours. I'm sure you love it. You've been doing it this long now, and like my buddy, I mean, why wouldn't he love building zip lines around the world? So
Well, I think he gets to go to some really neat locations.
yeah, he just got back from China. I was super jealous.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Cool. Okay.
So again, like I see people saying, you know, why again, why do you work for the man? But you know, some people just love their jobs and they can do the real estate on the side and still create that generational wealth. So I applaud the people that, you know, don't want to be, or maybe you do want to be, but there's people that don't want to be full-time solopreneurs or whatever, and make it work and still, you know, do the passion, you know, they love.
Yeah. So I do want to be full time. I'm, you know, the name of your podcast, you know, Fearless Pursuit. So I'm very cautious by nature. And
Yeah.
so I kind of tiptoe. And so, I guess about 2 years ago, my wife had quit her job, and then I went part-time last year. And so we're kind of, you know, slowly making that progression out, you know, and I'm not a person, I actually have a really good job, and, you know, I get every other Friday off and lots of vacation time and all that. So it's great.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm an entrepreneur, and that's my DNA. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, you just kind of look back and like, okay, I had a candy business, I had all this. I mean, yeah, that's in my blood.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So you have a ETA on when you're pulling the switch? Well, I guess you probably can't. You can't announce that, so I'm sorry. I guess I won't answer that question or ask that question. But
Yeah. So I'm selling a few properties this year. It's kind of crazy. I was adding it up a little while ago. And so within, about 9 months span, we're going to end up selling about $30 million worth of real estate, which is crazy to me to even think about that. But anyways, so yeah, once we sell that, then I may go ahead and, leave not too long after. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, sounds like a great plan. I mean, everything's been going the way you want it to go. Sounds like. Let's fast forward time a little bit. Let's talk about that Waco deal. You're the syndicator. You raised $50,000 from, you said, about 30 people.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. I mean, that's your gig. You like multifamily.
Yep.
And you know, I don't know too much about it, but I know there's two different types of syndications and blah blah blah. But let's start.
Yeah.
You know, how'd you find the deal, and where'd you go from there?
Right. So this deal was interesting. So I was thinking about it. So this is an off-market deal. Well, it was on market, but no one had heard of the broker that was selling it, so it was really off-market.
Mm-hmm.
And so I regularly call brokers and just like, hey, how's it going? Just kind of, chit chat, and you do this a while, you get to know everybody, and so I regularly call them, probably about once a month, just to, how's it going? And so there's one broker in particular I knew he'll do more off market than maybe some of the other brokers. And so I call him pretty frequently and, hey, how's it going? And, hey, you got anything that's popped up that we can take a look at? And I remember I was driving back from Tyler. It was Tyler or Longview. I can't remember which one. And I was with a buddy of mine. I was driving back, and I was going to Austin that weekend, probably for you. No, yeah, I don't remember what for, but I was going to Austin that weekend. And this was an Austin broker. I was like, hey, you got anything going on? And so he gave me the list of a few properties in Waco for me to drive. I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm going down to Austin from Fort Worth. And so I'll stop by and look at properties while I'm down there. So looked at a few of them. I think there were three. Two of them were really rough, much more rough than I'd want to necessarily take on, especially for the price. But there was one that was fairly clean, and it was 120 units. That's Fleetwood Square. And so anyways, we ended up making an offer on it. It was a CMBS assumption, which is I always forget what it stands for, commercially backed securities, or commercial mortgage backed securities. And so anyways, CMBS assumption. And the reason why we had to assume that is because the defeasance was fairly high. Defeasance is basically, without getting all detailed into it, basically there's a high prepayment penalty associated with it. So that's why we had to assume the loan. The prepayment penalty was basically like $750,000, and where it made it, and the loan was, $3 million and some change. And so it made it not feasible for that person to pay that $750,000 and then buy it. So we assumed the loan. So I raised about $2 million for that deal, and we purchased the deal. There are lots of bumps along the way. So typically a multifamily deal, you'll close in 60 to 90 days. This deal closed in about 8 to 9 months. And it was knockdown, drag out. It was just a long process. I remember I was actually on vacation with my family we were in Europe. We were in Germany at the time. And I remember getting an email. I tried to not check my phone too much, on vacation and all that, and trying to do all that. I remember getting the email. Basically, it was, blowing up the deal. Really? I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so I was, on Wi-Fi and emailed back. And so set a time. So I had this phone call. We were in Munich, and long story, they had shut down the subways because there was a shooting, blah, blah, blah. But so anyways, we went back to the Airbnb, and I had this phone call, with my attorney, the lender, the seller. I mean, this, just a, big phone call, important phone call. And I had a few of those during the vacation, but anyways, we got it ironed out. The problem was the lender wanted, so we budgeted, repairs. Typically it's like $3,000 to $4,000 a door.
Yeah.
We had a healthy budget, but they wanted us to do $750,000 in repairs. So they had an engineer that flew from Orange County to Waco, Texas, to this 1970s deal. And we're like, hey, you need to replace windows. You need to basically, replace a lot of stuff that you typically don't replace. And then they had the replacement reserves. Typical replacement reserves are $300 a door. They wanted $700 a door. In between those two items, that kind of blew up the deal. Replacement reserves are basically the lender requires you to put money back every month per unit. And typically that adds up to about $300 per door per year. So, and they wanted $700. So that was a very, very big number.
Correct.
So anyways, we basically told the seller, look, they're making this is your lender, and they're making all these changes. So we pushed all these issues back over to the seller and say, hey, this is a big problem, and now it's your problem.
Right. Well, why would a bank do that? I mean, just because they have the opportunity as it's changing hands, or did they realize they maybe made a bad decision when the initial loan on the asset, or what?
Yeah, it was interesting because they hadn't the loan hadn't been in effect all that long. They were relying on this engineer that came from Orange County,
Mhm.
and we were negotiating like this is not normal. Why you've already you placed the loan 2 or 3
Right.
years ago. Why weren't these issues brought up then? Was the argument, and
Yeah.
that's the argument you're bringing up too. And so, anyways, we got them to come down. Basically, we got them to cut everything down in half to where it was feasible for us to do the deal because we were buying at a 9 cap, and this was 2 years ago. We were buying at a 9 cap, which is fantastic, and we were in low 30s per door, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So the stuff in Waco right now is selling for 55, 65 per door, for that same vintage right now.
Wow.
So it's crazy. And the same stuff in DFW is at 80 per door. So anyways, it was, great deal. We ended up closing the deal. It was, lots of struggles there, having to do a bunch of stuff while on vacation and, just trying to coordinate all that. But so we had another struggle when we got into the deal. You typically, when you get into the deal, some of the tenants, typically the property manager, when they know it's going to sell, they get pretty lazy on who they let into the property.
Yeah.
And that's normal. And so we had some of that, which is normal. But we had one particular gentleman that basically got into a shouting match with our property manager, and to where she almost had to call the police. And then magically the next day, our office was burned down.
Holy
And
crap.
yeah.
Jeez.
So anyways, so it took a while to handle all that. And it's a lot more difficult leasing units when you're having to lease out of another unit. It's just not very inviting. It's a very small space. You're leasing out of this unit. And then also they look across the parking lot and they looked at this burned down office, and it's just not, the sales pitch is not, it's just not as appealing.
Right. Yeah. Welcome to the safe apartment complex where the office gets burned down.
Right. Yeah.
That's nuts.
So anyways, we got I was just happy that, the office was burned down, but I was glad that, because we were going to remodel it anyways, but
Yeah.
I'm glad he burned it, or I'm glad it was the situation was in before we remodeled it, because otherwise
Right.
that would, obviously a complete waste of money.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we ended up remodeling it. Insurance paid for it, and the office looked fantastic. And as soon as we kind of got everything going, our income jumped up 10 to 15 grand a month, and so that's we got that going about 9 months to a year ago, and our NOI was shooting through the roof, and so it looked like a good time to sell. And so we actually just closed on the deal yesterday.
really.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you took you 9 months to close it. You went on vacation because you're like, this thing's taking 3 times longer than it should. I'm just going to go on vacation, and then everything, all hell breaks loose while you're gone. And you're like, sorry, honey, there's like a $3 million deal online. You get it closed. It takes you 9 or 12 months to wrap it up, or no, it's 9 or 12 months stable, producing good income, and then you decided to sell it. So one question I like to ask multifamily guys is,
Sure.
why short versus long on your hold?
Yeah, good question. I would say that so I like the Waco market a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's basically we bought at a 9 cap and we sold at a 6.5 cap, and man, that's a huge gap.
Yeah.
Part of, so I know some of these numbers off the top of my head, so I'll give you I'll give you an answer there.
Mm-hmm.
So the past few years we've been buying at like an 8 cap or so, and right now in DFW we're selling at a 6 cap, and 500K NOI. The delta between a 6 cap and 8 cap is about $2 million. So if cap rates kind of start floating back up, it's my equity's deteriorating
Right.
basically. So it depends on the deal. If it's a really strong location and really good cash flow and just and we feel really good about the bones of the asset and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did like Fleetwood a lot, so I was considering just refinancing and pulling everybody's cash out. Um, we have another deal in DFW over in Hearst that we're considering. We looked at selling. We may end up just keeping it and refinancing because
Yeah.
it's off a pipeline. It's a great location. It's cash flowing well. It's right next to an elementary school, and so we may end up refinancing that deal just because, man, it's a stellar location, very very strong, and we feel like there's still quite a bit of upside there.
Yeah.
So we kind of look at, it's kind of a holistic approach and just depends on, where the deal's at and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So that length of ownership, I assume that's discussed with your investors beforehand, and then there's conversations amongst the ownership of it, and then
Yes.
a decision is made then.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it depends on the operating agreement, but yeah, per the operating agreement for Fleetwood, it took a vote and everybody was in favor of selling it given where we were at. This particular buyer for Fleetwood, they were a 1031 buyer. I'd gone out and gotten about 5 BOVs. BOV is a broker opinion of value. And their price that they gave me, basically I told them, I'm like, look guys, I'm gonna probably take this to market because we think we can get this. And basically they were above the highest number that I got. And I was like, well, I mean, it's a bird in the hand, right? So
Yeah.
it was difficult not to take it. But so yeah, they gave us a really strong number. They were a 1031 buyer. They put down, a good chunk of cash, hard money day one. And their 1031 time limit was very short, so they had to get into a deal
Right.
pretty quickly.
It's awesome. It's great
Yeah,
news.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Well, I'm a single family. A buddy of mine, because I'm always every time I get a contract on a house, I'm like, oh, should I wholesale it? Should I flip it? Should I do this or that? And a buddy of mine, Yale, he always says, you never regret wholesaling a house. And I guess that's the same for you. I guess there's potential for regret, but selling in this, hot market, where the cap rates are low in the commercial world, it's better than hanging on to it 3 more years and then everything just plummets and now it's 11 or whatever, and your equity is gone, like you were saying. So,
Right,
yep,
right.
good time to get out of there.
Yeah.
You had mentioned you passed on two other ones because of the size of the rehab versus the price and just wasn't appealing.
Yes.
Is there, because I know Will Crozier, Will Crozier, he'll buy properties that need minimal rehab versus Tim Bratz, he'll buy properties that need massive rehab.
Right.
Is there a niche you like to stay on, like
Yeah.
moderate to heavy or low?
Yeah, I would say so. We're looking at a handful of deals right now, and I'd say I'm more on the Will Crozier side. So the ideal situation would be a light value add, but there's a lot of issues on the management side.
Yeah.
Because we can bring we hire third party management companies similar to Will. I'm not sure what Tim does. But we would bring in a third party management company that we've been working with, for 5+ years.
Yeah.
And we know exactly, what to expect and they have systems and processes. And so we can go in there and get things cleaned up. There is a time period, similar to, Tim's. He probably needs 12 to 18 months depending on the amount of rehab. And we need that same sort of time period. But yeah, right now I'm really looking for deals. We are still looking to buy. I'm going to be a net seller this year, though. We're selling a good bit, but I'm looking to buy. I want to be in stronger locations, especially where we are in the cycle.
Right.
And I'm looking for deals with a good amount of upsides. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm more on the lighter value add.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Tim is an outlier on that, where he has a somewhat similar situation where his first building also got a fire in it, but he just likes the big rehabs. I guess it's more fun than for him,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Well,
but
if he's buying them cheap enough, then yeah, why not?
right,
So
right, right. No, that's awesome. Man. Okay, so you've been in multifamily about 7 years. You've ran into plenty of issues, I'm sure. What's what's the future hold? You're selling a bunch this year. Uh, is there a goal door amount? Is there certain cities you want to be in? Like, what are you looking to do?
yeah, so there's a few things. So I am I don't really have a door amount per se. I there's a few folks I partner with and really enjoy partnering with them. Given the economic outlook and things like that, it's tough not to be in Texas. Texas is fantastic. I like Arizona and Colorado quite a bit too. But I'll look at other markets, but Texas being local and all that, that would be preferred. I am I've been doing multifamily a little while. I'm also my personal funds I'm putting into I haven't yet, but I will be putting into mobile home parks and
Mhm.
self storage and some other. I think we've chatted briefly about that,
Right.
but so yeah, doing that, and then I don't have it up and going, but I'm starting a website called School of Income, and basically I was surprised that domain wasn't taken, by the way, but going to be it's basically to educate people, educate passive investors about what to look for in deals, whether it's multifamily or whether it's mobile home parks or so.
Right.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of different websites out there where you can go invest. Uh, you can go put in. Some of them are $500, some of them start at 25 grand. But
Yeah.
you can go invest in a lot of these websites. But I feel like there's a lot of education that's missing there,
Right.
unless you happen to find some of these podcasts or unless you go to some of these weekend events that are there's a lot of them in Texas or Denver or all over the country. But
Yeah.
unless you're going to go into these different events, you probably don't. There's not a whole lot of education out there, I feel. So
Right. Yeah, and everybody does it differently, and everybody has different motives, and so finding a source that you know, because a lot of these events, I assume your platform would be, is it going to be paid for, like a membership type of deal, or is it going to be free?
actually, I haven't built it, or it's kind of in progress, but
Yeah.
it'll be the intent will be to give away free content basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, I mean, like you said, there's a bunch in Denver, a bunch in Dallas, Austin. They're all over the country. All these bigger multifamily, and it's hard to know which ones to go to,
Yeah.
and which ones have different motives, or if you got to pay for it, or small membership, big membership. There's a million different things. So, an online one, not only would you be able to track nationwide or even worldwide, but it's a somewhat neutral platform you can access at any time without going to a 3 or 7 day event. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
great idea.
That's a thought. So,
Yeah.
yep. So,
Okay. You mentioned mobile home parks and storage.
yes.
Uh, as you know, I'm looking to get in that. Haven't got into it. Evaluated several properties, but what intrigues you to one or the other or both? And what kind of approach do you think you'd be taking for that? Is you can syndicate bigger deals, or
Yeah. So for on that, I don't know as much about self storage. I've been to a mobile home. Went to the mobile home boot camp with Frank and Dave. And if you're, I don't know if you've been to it or not, but
no, I haven't.
um, it's he's a fantastic speaker, and it's I don't know, very educational, but it's also entertaining. Same,
Yeah.
instance, but so I'll hit on the mobile home park side.
Mhm.
So mobile home parks, what I really like about that, there's a few people developing them, but for the
Right.
most part, it's no one wants them by where they live.
Right.
Uh, and they're not really developing more, and it's so it's supply and demand. They're not really making more. I think there's about 40,000 ish across the country, and it's mainly mom and pop. And so I really, I like the supply demand. They're not really making more, but people, there's an affordability issue, housing issue in general,
Yeah.
and there's no, if you can't afford to live in a mobile home park, then I hate to be, crass or whatever, but you're out on the street or in your car if you
Right.
can't afford to be in a mobile home park. So it's kind of the last line of housing opportunity. And so it's, so I like it from that perspective. Everybody needs a place to live. The average lot rent right now across the U.S. is about $300 per month. I mean, if I go look at a C-class property over here, if it's if it's, I'm looking at 750 to 800 bucks a month. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, so there's a pretty big gap, and that's for a one bedroom. The mobile home park, it's $300 lot rent, but that could be a 2 or 3 bedroom, and they actually have a little bit of yard there. So
Yeah.
if you compare a 2 or 3 bedroom, then you're looking more at $1,000 a month. So you're looking at this delta between let's say $400 and $1,000. And that $300 lot rent is assuming they own the house, and so there might be some additional cost there. But I just like how low cost it can be for folks.
Yeah.
And depending on where you live in the country, kind of in the Midwest, there's a better connotation with it's, I guess, more accepted.
Right.
Around here, I think it unfortunately kind of looked down upon a little bit. But there's mobile home parks that are really nice, and some fancy folks live in them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like the space a lot.
Yeah. Maybe I think mobile homes are, there's every, it meets every gambit. There's the low, D class on all up to A class. Like in Northern Arizona, where I just moved from a few years ago, there's double wide selling for over 300,000 out there
Oh my
on
gosh.
small lots. Like I would assume they're like somewhere around 5,000 square foot lots or smaller. Yeah, just crazily expensive. So mobile homes in general, and those things are like super fancy nowadays. You get those double wides; they have like
Right.
saunas in the master bathroom. They
Oh
are
wow.
nice. Yeah,
Wow.
or not sauna, freaking jet bathtub, whatever you call them.
Yep. Yep.
Anyways, um, so they can be really nice. But like you said, I've heard a lot of people call them recession proof. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and when shit hits a fan, shit rolls downhill. And as you can't afford your house, you go into a rental house, you go to apartment, and then you go down to the mobiles.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
you mentioned lot rent several times. Is that going to be your um, angle or niche? Is you want to do the lot rent only, or do you want to own the units themselves, or a mixture, or convert from a mixture to a lot rent only, or how do you think you
Right.
attack that one?
Yep. So my angle there is to work with an operations partner. Honest, I don't want to be in the management of mobile home parks. I want to partner up with someone that already has that structure in place.
Yeah.
There's not, at least my understanding, and everybody I've talked to, there's not a whole lot of, with apartments, you can go hire a third party management company, and there's a lot of them, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of them that do a really good job. There's, with mobile home parks, just because of how low the lot rents are and all that, there's not really a whole lot of management companies. And if there are, then they haven't. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. They there's other people that think they can do a lot better job than these third-party management companies.
Right.
So, and there's not very many of them, if at all. So I would want to partner up with someone that already has that operations in place. I'm all about, you hear it all the time, real estate's team sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all about partnering up, strategically, and with the right folks, of course. But I'm all about partnering up where it makes sense, and that's a situation where it would make sense to partner up with someone that already has that in place.
Right. Yeah. No, it sounds a great plan. I've done a lot of marketing to them, and it seems like the communities that are lot rents only are like the golden goose, and it's so hard to find those things. And oftentimes, especially the ones that have good income or good cap rates, or the NOI as well, a lot of them have the rented units, and then it's like, okay, now what's worst case? And once we do turn it into lot rents only, how do you convert that? Do you owner finance the houses back to them?
Right.
Do you give them the houses? And so I've only been able to find one out of my thousands of mailers that is true lot rents only. And the guy's like, well, I could sell, but it's so easy. And I'm like, I know. Can you sell it to me, please?
Right. Yeah. I think most of the people that I've talked to are either lot rent or they tried to go in that direction. But normally there's a certain percentage where, they own the park owns the homes, and and so it's either, I think Frank had talked about just giving, if it's kind of a lower cost home, just giving the homes away just to convert things to lot rent only. So, and then there's other people that, like you were saying, would owner finance. So,
like you said, if it's cheap enough, hand it over, or owner finance it. A lot of people would like that sense of ownership on their own little piece of America. But it'll lead for ownership on our side, the investment side. It alleviates tons of management and maintenance issues.
Oh, absolutely.
You relinquish a little bit of the income there, but you can solve that by owner financing and capturing some of that back. But part of the buy right type of deal. I do love mobile homes. I just haven't found one that's super appealing. There's actually found one that has an incredible NOI, but they're dragging their feet on some of the other unit installs, so I'm waiting on that. But in the meantime, storage is like super appealing. There is no maintenance. The management's like, super low. They can be converted to almost 100% online management, where they sign the leases online, they pay online, or all these type of deals. Well, we're covering a bunch of different niches here, but with your storage endeavors, is it the big, like the guys that I know that are doing big time, they're like, I have to buy 45,000 square feet net rentable square feet or more for management purposes. Are you following that guideline, or how do you think you'll attack storage?
It'll be kind of operations partner dependent. So, but a lot of them are, most of them are looking at bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So, the management and all that just makes a whole lot more sense. Go bigger. So,
right.
And it's kind of the same thing on the apartment side. So, I've talked to people all the time, like, hey, I'm going to go do, 20 or 50 units. I'm like, that's cool. And if that's what you really want to do, go for it. But really, it's all the same work, whether it's 20 or 50 units or 400 units.
Mm-hmm.
And you just make especially if you're sponsoring the deal or the syndicator, or you're putting the deal together, you make a lot more money. You don't make, you make a little bit, but on 50 units, you don't make a whole lot. On 400 units, you make a lot. And it's just, it's all the same work. It's how big you want the pie to be.
Yeah.
So, 50 units, a little pie, 400 units, big pie. Right. So it's all the same work. You just get paid a lot more. And so that's why you'll see a lot of syndicators, trying to get bigger deals.
Man, all you multifamily guys always saying that it's the same amount of work.
Well, it's bigger money raised, but if you're like, okay, well, I'm going to renovate, 50 units, renovating 50 units and doing the turns on that versus 400. I mean, yeah, it's a multiple was at 8, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all the same work. I mean, you're ordering the same flooring, you're ordering the same paint, the same
Yeah.
doorknobs, fixtures. You're just placing a little bigger order for more units, and then
Right.
you get paid a lot more. So
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense in my mind, but that's been my evolution of progression is as I get to more and more houses or from real estate as a real estate agent to an investor, every progression is like, I look back and I'm like, man, that was easy. Why didn't I just do it earlier? So eventually I'll do an apartment deal. I'm like, damn, why didn't I start earlier? Yeah.
awesome.
Well, man, I appreciate it. You mentioned schoolofincome.com. You bought the domain, haven't started it. You have a launch date in mind?
Right now I just sold a deal yesterday. We're about to do, I have another deal on the market over in Haltom City. We're about to do the best and final date. And then I'm rolling out another deal that I'm selling. It'll probably roll out this week. So my focus is on those, and then the deal we just sold, getting checks out to investors. So my focus is kind of there. And then once kind of wrap up, then I'll start spinning up School of Income.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Okay. So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way? I know you from Facebook. Is that how you want them to reach you?
The best website right now is probably cowtowncap.com. Stands for Cowtown Capital. So fourth is called Cowtown. So for the people not in DFW.
Okay, so it is Cowtown,
Cowtown.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, I just wanted to verify. Cool, man. And then I'll just link your Facebook below, and they can message you if they want to bring you a deal or they want to help you with some passive money. And then I always ask everybody the same question at the end, and it way off subject compared to what we've been talking about now, but if you had 6 months to live, what would you do with it?
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's a great question. There would be a lot of traveling involved, for sure. And we're friends on Facebook. And so I see you're traveling. There would be travel involved. I guess I would just I would think about, I didn't think about this beforehand, obviously.
Yeah.
But I would think about I guess try to maximize. I'm an engineer, so I'm all about efficiency and trying to, bang for the buck,
right.
Type person. So I would, I'm all about, I'm 40 years old. And so I've been thinking more and more about how I can make a positive impact on the world. So that's where my mind would go.
Yeah.
I have a 7-year-old son, and so obviously I would spend a heck of a lot of time with him. But really trying to sounds cheesy and it's very cliched, but trying to make the world a better place and better than the way I found it. So I guess I would think about how I can maximize giving back to society and trying to help other folks out while I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the answer. I mean, it's virtually the same thing I would do. A lot more time with family, a lot more time traveling, and doing my damnedest to help others live a fulfilling life. And
yeah, that's probably a question that people should ask themselves more often, because it would certainly, any sort of hesitation or fear or procrastination would really go out the window real fast.
Yep.
It, like, literally you had 6 months, like I'd be going balls to the wall. I'm doing this, we're going, bye.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. I mean, I do my best to remind myself that, and that's why I ask that question on everyone is the world in general. I don't think thinks about that often enough. But definitely as entrepreneurs, we get so, tunnel vision on our goals that oftentimes gets pushed aside. But I mean, I remind Ashley all the time, and the girls, is like, there's so many people texting on the road. Like literally today, somebody could just be texting and veer the wrong way, and then you're in the hospital. And then you think about all the things you wish you would have done, and by then, hopefully you're good, but it could be too late. I mean,
absolutely,
so fragile.
Yeah, well, I know kind of along those same lines. I don't know if you listen to Gary Vee or not, but I know he talks about going into retirement homes and talking to them and listening to them, and you hear about a lot of regrets and things like that. It's kind of that same mindset that'll snap you into living more of a purposeful life real quick. You go hang out with some folks at a retirement home, and that'll get you lined up real fast.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. I'm a big old crybaby, so I'd be over there hearing people about how they didn't live their life the way they wanted to, and I wouldn't be able to talk to them. I'd just sit over and cry.
I'd be the same way. I'm the guy in the movie theater, like trying not to just sob. So
yeah. Same deal. Because that's one of the things I think about often is I'm 32, but when I'm 80 and I'm chilling in bed because I can't move around anymore, I don't want to sit there and think about, well, shit, I wish I would have done that, or wish I would have done that, or wish I would have loved this person more, or talked to this person more. I want to be there thinking, I'm going out strong.
Yeah.
I did everything I wanted to. But man, it was a great interview. Loved it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Had fun.
Yeah, we'll have to. We pretty much touched it all, but we'll have to come on when you get a new deal. We'll talk about and see if we can't help you and help others learn about the multifamily commercial world.
Sweet. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, and happy to do a case study or whatever. Happy to help. So
I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye.